ready, Mr. Vice Chair.
All right. Call into order the Seward Planning and Zoning Commission's regular meeting, October 19th, 2021, 7 p.m. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Ambrosiani, or I mean, Carbon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call?
Tonight's roll call: Verhey.
Here.
Ambrosiani.
Here.
Charbonneau.
Here.
Cease.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
And Vice Chair Swan.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, we'll start with citizens' comments on any subjects except those items scheduled for public hearing. Do we have anybody signed in?
No, sir.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any subject that is not here for a public hearing? I see none. We'll move forward to number 5, the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. We'll start with, we have a request to pull resolution 2021-021, and that is from the petitioner. So let's go ahead and get that taken off. But actually, before we pull that off, I'd like to bring something up because this is something I've been expecting to come up since we got the ladder truck. That at some point in time that we would, the city of Seward should be looking at what are the appropriate heights in certain areas. And what I noticed about this resolution when I was looking through it before it came to here was that the fire department didn't really have any negative comments about the idea of extending the heights.
Excuse me,
Yep.
Chair Swan. Because the resolution is being removed from the agenda, you're actually on the agenda item. It's
Okay,
not.
very good.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. So ignore what I just said. The other one I wanted to look at was, let's see, was resolution 2021-024. Back down here.
Okay.
Okay. They're asking for, again, a variance for heights. And my issue, this is the same thing I was just talking about.
Chair
And-
Swan, do you wish to remove it from the agenda or leave it on the agenda? It's not up for debate and discussion at this time.
Okay, then I'm going to leave it on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, never mind. Does anybody have any other changes?
I think so.
Okay. Then can I get a roll call for approval of the agenda and the consent agenda?
Yes. Voting on tonight's agenda and consent agenda as amended. Verhey. Yes. Sullivan.
Yes.
Cease.
Yes.
Ambrosiani.
Yes.
Charbonneau.
Yes.
And Swan.
Yes.
Thank you. Your agenda and consent agenda are approved, and it doesn't look like there are any, there is, you have approved on consent the September 7th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
Okay, we're down to item number 6, special reports and presentations. Do we have a city administration report?
Yes, so as you may have heard, the city has hired a new community development director, Jason Bickling, and he should start November 8th. So we're excited to have that addition. And other than that, we're plugging along with a lot of other conditional use permits and replats. So it's been busy and moving forward in the planning department.
Thank you. Any other announcements or presentations? Okay, move along to item number 7, public hearings. And so it'd be an opportunity to have comments from the public. Those comments are limited to 5 minutes. Those who have signed in will be given first opportunity to speak. A, unfinished business items requiring public hearing. There are none. We'll go to item B, new business items requiring public hearing. We'll be looking at number 2, resolution 2021-022 of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, granting a conditional use permit to the Seward Police Department to construct an animal shelter on lot 6A-2, Fort Raymond subdivision, replat number 3, located at 601 Sea Lion Avenue within the industrial institutional zoning district. What's the wishes of the commission? Someone want to make a motion?
Yeah, sorry, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-022.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Charbonneau and seconded by Commissioner Verde. Commissioner Charbonneau, you want to start us on this?
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. We need a.
We go to the public first.
I will get this.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, there is no one signed in.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this subject? Excellent. Commissioner Charbonneau.
I'm actually good with this right now.
Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, good.
Commissioner Keith? Okay.
No.
Commissioner Ambrosiani, any comments?
No comment.
Oh, we need a
Do you want a staff
administration report. Yes, staff report, please.
So the City of Seward Police Department has applied for a conditional use permit from the City Planning and Zoning Commission to construct an animal shelter on the city property located at 601 Sea Lion Avenue. Constructing the new animal shelter has been on the city's CIP list for the past 20 years. In 2018, the City Council passed Resolution 2018-80 approving Lot 6A-2 Fort Raymond subdivision, replat number 3 to be the future location for the new animal shelter. The current animal shelter is located in a residential district. This is disruptive to neighboring homes. The proposed location at Lot 6A-2 Fort Raymond subdivision, replat number 3 for the new animal shelter is not near homes and has sufficient space between other adjoining uses. Other considerations to note are that the current animal shelter has outgrown its capacity and is much too small for the needs of Seward. It does not have a bathroom or a quarantine room to separate the sick animals from the healthy animals, or adequate space for storing supplies needed to care for the animals. Development requirements. The proposed structure for the business meets the zoning code development requirements, including lot coverage, minimum building lot size, and building height. According to the Kenai Peninsula floodplain map, the area is not located within a flood zone. Water, sewer, and power are available to the property, and the applicant is planning on connecting to all of those. Parking. The recommended parking would be what is required in code for an office building, which is 1 parking space for each 500 square feet of office floor area, but not less than 2 spaces. The proposed animal shelter will be 2,400 square feet, which would mean that it should have 5 parking spaces, and the design shows that there will be at least 5 parking spots in the front and 1 spot in the back for the city-owned vehicle. It meets the comprehensive plan for public safety and public facilities and services, which say to relocate the animal shelter facility to a more appropriate area. Staff comments. The building department says that they would be required to have a building permit, as well as the fire department that they would need a building permit and be designed according to locally adopted codes. Public Works mentioned the city wells that are in the area, but recognize that the plans have taken into account the radius of the city wells and does not interfere with those. Harbor Department had no comment, Police Department no comment, Electric Department no comment. Property owners within 300 feet of Lot 6A-2 were notified of the proposed conditional use permit, and public notice signs were posted on the property. And all other public hearing requirements of Seward City Code 15.01.040 were complied with. And then the recommendations are, for this conditional use permit, are that the applicant will work with city staff through the building permit process and be constructed according to International Fire Code and International Building Code. The applicant will work with city utility departments for any possible upgrades to the water, sewer, and electric utilities. All parking and maneuverability will remain on site for the life of the use. Bear-proof and bird-resistant containers shall be provided for all garbage and refuse. And per city code 15.10.325, an approved CUP shall lapse 6 months from the date of approval if the use for which the permit was issued has not been implemented or a building permit obtained. The recommendation is that the staff recommends approval of resolution 2021-022, granting a conditional use permit to the City of Seward Police Department to construct an animal shelter at 601 Sea Line Avenue.
Thank you. Nobody has any comments after that? Okay. Can I call for a vote?
Voting on the approval of resolution 2021-022, Charbonneau,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Berkey,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
and Swan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Okay, next, number 3, resolution 2021-023 of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, granting a conditional use permit to Phil Zimmerman to construct a triplex and 2 fourplexes on lots 8, 9, 10, Block 4, Gateway Subdivision, Addition Number 1, located at 2004, 2006, 2008 Phoenix Avenue within the multifamily R3 zoning district. And we are open for public comments. Do we have anybody signed it?
Motion.
Oh, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-023.
And I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Anybody signed in?
There is no one signed in for this.
Okay, is there anybody on the public that would like to speak on this? Okay, seeing none.
This is resolution 023.
Zero-
Correct?
Correct, 023.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who want to sign it? Yes, please step to the podium, give us your name and your location of residency.
My name is Michael Crater, and I reside adjacent to the proposed lots, to the, specifically the triplex. I have some questions about and concerns about what's happening. I don't exactly know what's being requested for the permitting, but last year, the year before, on the other side of our lot, another lot was redesignated to allow for a 12-plex to be built on one side of our house. And now there's going to be a triplex built on the other side of our house. Essentially, we're going to be sandwiched between 2 parking lots now, which isn't what we really envisioned when we first moved in. Granted, we don't have control over what other people do with the lots. I think my primary concern is if this conditional use permit is being sought to increase the density of the properties beyond what they're really designed for, originally platted, that I would object to that. However, if it's within the scope of the R3, develop a lot as you see fit. That's my concern. is that we're gonna have 20 parking spaces on one side of our house and 8 or 12 parking spaces on the other side of our house.
Thank you. Are there any other comments concerning this resolution? Yes, please. Again.
Sharon Stevens Ganser, and I live currently on Nash Road, but we're building a house at 202 Dunn Drive, which is across the street from the development so far, and kind of in the middle of the Gateway subdivision. My only concerns would be that we make sure that there are adequate parking spaces for all of the units that are being built. And I did put a letter, send a letter to the board, I'm assuming you all read it. And that there be covered garbage storage, not a dumpster at the end of the driveways that has been happening at the fourplex that's up Phoenix. And that there be on building lighting and not just big lights in the parking area that let the ambient light shine around the whole neighborhood. Because eventually that whole neighborhood will be homes. And something that I didn't put on here, I think in the subdivision plan, of course I cannot remember all the details, but there was something there was supposed to be sidewalks, curb and gutter, and neighborhood lighting that was in this area. And if it's going to be densely populated, it would be nice to have sidewalks for people to walk and not walk down the road like what's happening up Dora Way. That is not a safe place for kids or anybody walking around that area. There are cars up and down there all the time, and it's hard to see when you're going around the corner. So I would like that to be taken into consideration before you approve the conditional use permit. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this?
I'm Phil Zimmerman. So all these questions are same questions I have. Sidewalks are in the works from what I understand and have been since we started the entire development. As far as your garbage concerns, that's not a problem. That's part of the deal. And no, I do not want a blinding light out there and lighting up the whole neighborhood on those lots. So the buildings are designed with kind of a walkway in the front in which they will have can lighting basically. So lighting will point straight down. So any concerns you have, you can always give me a call. I'm available to talk about it. These buildings are mostly one-bedroom apartments. I don't think we're going to raise it. There's plenty of parking for how many bedrooms that we have above and beyond. So I don't think we're going to create any real congestion there whatsoever. And if we do, I'll try to remedy it. So, thank you.
Okay, I'll close public hearings. Do we have a staff report?
Yes. Resolution 2021-23, Phil Zimmerman has applied for a conditional use permit from the Seward Planning and Zoning Commission to construct a 3-plex and 2 4-plexes on his properties located at 2004, 2006, 2008 Phoenix Road on lots 8, 9, 10, Block 4, Gateway Subdivision, Addition Number 1. The proposed project for the CUP would add 11 dwelling units to Seward. There are a variety of housing needs in Seward that this addition of homes will help to meet. Whether employee housing or long-term residents, the addition of affordable housing will benefit the economy and community of Seward. Development requirements: the proposed structures for the housing meets the zoning code development requirements, including lot coverage, minimum building lot size, and building height. Floodplain status: according to the Kenai Peninsula floodplain map, the area is not located within a flood zone. Utilities: water, sewer, and power are available to the property, and the applicant is planning on connecting to all of these. Adequate fire, police, and solid waste disposal services are available to the property. City code also requires that every building or building site within the city must provide containers suitable for refuse collection, and all containers shall be watertight with an animal-proof lid. Parking, according to the city code 15.10.215, multifamily dwellings are required to have 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit plus 1/2 space for every unit larger than 2 bedrooms or greater than 1,000 square feet in size. The consistency checklist with comprehensive plan. It meets the economic base to encourage the development of infrastructure expansion plans for currently undeveloped residential and commercial property. Land use to promote residential and commercial development within the city of Seward and its vicinity in accordance with community values, and housing to encourage development of new housing in Seward. It meets the strategic plan, which states that it encourages construction of residential housing at all market levels and to expand availability of affordable, diverse, year-round housing. Staff comments: the building department stated that the project would need a building permit. Fire department said all construction must meet locally adopted codes. Public Works, no comment. Harbor Department, no comment. Police Department, no comment. Electric Department, no comment. Property owners within 300 feet of the 3 lots, 8, 9, 10, were notified of this proposed conditional use permit action, and public notice signs were posted on the property. Recommended conditions: the applicant will work with city staff through the building permit process and construct the building following requirements per International Fire Code and International Building Code. The applicant will work with city utility departments for any upgrades to water, sewer, and utilities. A minimum of 7 parking spaces should be provided on site for the 3-plex and 9 parking spaces for each of the 4-plexes. All parking and maneuverability will remain on site for the life of the use. All areas not devoted to buildings, drives, walks, parking areas, or other unauthorized installations shall be covered with 1 or more of the following: lawn grass, natural or ornamental shrubbery, or trees. Bear-proof, bird-resistant containers shall be provided for all garbage and refuge for the life of the use. Recommendation: Community Development Department staff recommends approval of Resolution 2021-23 granting a conditional use permit to Phil Zimmerman for a 3-plex and 2 4-plexes at 2004, 2006, 2008 Phoenix Road.
Thank you. Commissioner Charbonneau, you want to start us out on this?
Yeah, well, initially, I guess I would have liked to see some better drawings. Are pretty vague, but we did last minute get a parking layout. The sidewalks and lighting, I guess Zimmerman addressed. In the letter he puts in here is covered cans, and I just want to make sure that they're going to be bear-proof cans. So, and reading through it, it seems like we got that covered. And with these plans, I was hoping to see some green area, some grass, some sort of design of what was going to happen. But as long as it's in the CUP, that some of that's going to not just be a gravel pad, I think you'll have that.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. What I just wanted to be sure that, although it's not to scale, I'm guessing, on this, is that I just wanted to be assured that if, that the parking spots that are here, because I know parking's always a challenge, that they will meet the criteria as the city outlines a parking spot for people. Additionally, I just have a question. Does the city put in sidewalks, or does the builder do that, or how is that normally done? That's my naivete on that respect. I don't know who does that.
Staff, can you remind me, this would have been in the development, do we have a answer to that?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you right now. I would have to verify what has been agreed in this subdivision
Right.
development, yeah.
So the answer is that is handled in the subdivision development program that's put
Okay.
together with the city.
Okay, okay.
And so that would be addressed at that time. And personally, I don't know what that answer is.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Well, I'll find out later when we get to that point. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Alrighty. Any other commissioners? or comments? Yes.
Mr. Crater mentioned something about, was it a 12-plex? Also, that I'm not aware of, that I'm not aware has been approved adjacent to his property.
Mm-mm.
Okay, let's see.
We'd have
Just,
to,
just a second. You know. Do. Oops, okay, all right. So, excuse me, getting used to these ads. Okay, I want to look at this. I think the comment says there's existing 12-plex on the other side of it, not to be built. And I don't see a 12-plex, or is that it?
Commissioner Ambrose?
Janice Peterson built one north.
Yeah, the one right by the Jesse Lee Park. Or the.
Okay. Oh, I see, yes, all right, it's very small, okay. So there's a lot in between the house, there are a couple lots there, type of thing. So I think the comment was that the 12-plex already exists on one side.
okay.
And now we'll have a 3-plex directly on the other side. And I have that right, it's 2002 is to the farthest, or 2000, parcel 2004 is farthest to the south. Do we know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So right on the other side would be a triplex. And then the 2 4-plexes would be farther to the north. If I do have those correct. That answer your question?
Yes.
And anything else? So I do have, looking at this, because they're separate lots, the 4-plexes, I'm not sure if the plan was to make it so it's a horseshoe. So somebody, because the slots are, you come in off the road and park parallel, or at an angle. So you're going to back out, and if the intent is to make a horseshoe so that everybody's one direction, I mean, if it's and this is where the lack of information is. From the parking spot to the building, but then is there an awning in front? There needs, because it's 2-directional. As I'm reading this, we have parking, we have people driving one direction, you have people driving the other direction. Or someone's driving one direction, turn, drive back out. And it makes a difference if we look at 15.10 to 15, number 2, D2, minimum width of traffic aisles providing access to a parking lot space shall be, if it's one way, it's 12 feet. If it's two-way, it's 20 feet. And so I guess I have a question for staff. Would this be considered one-way or two-way?
It really depends on, I mean, the access of the vehicles being able to come into the property, whether they can go both ways and.
Right, because you end up in the position where you have 2 cars, one's coming into the parking lot and someone's pulling out of the parking lot. And because they're 2 lots, and they can in the future be sold, they really have to be looked at separately. And so I'm lacking in the information here as far as exactly. I mean, we have a footprint of the building. Is that the roof line? And we're so 26 feet. I mean, we don't have let's see, do we have a building plan?
Well, can I? say
Yes,
something?
please.
What I'm looking at is the lot width is 76 feet
Correct.
and the building's 26 feet and you have a 10-foot setback, that's 36 feet. That gives you 40 feet of parking and maneuvering, plenty of room to do a lot of stuff in 40 feet.
Yes, but you also have to have a walkway.
Well, so that's 3 feet. So didn't you just say that you needed 20 feet or something for parking and driving?
Yes, plus, and so that's a good point, and you kind of hit that, because it's 40 feet to work with.
Yep, they got 40 feet to work with on that one, and the other one, they got 44 feet to work with. And the other one, they have 38 feet to work with. So it looks like you have a lot of feet.
Right, and I think we have, I mean, he's provided more parking places than are necessary.
Required as well.
So you could easily have a turning spot at the end. Someone pulls forward, there's a 3-point turn, goes back out. And so I guess I'm okay with that. I just wanted to bring that up for our thought process. Anybody else have any comments on that thought process? Okay. And so are we ready for a vote? Okay. Can I have a vote, please?
Voting on the approval of resolution 2021-023, Cease,
Yes.
Berge,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
and Chair Swan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Next resolution.
Okay, let me go back up here.
Next one is,
Okay, next on our agenda is Resolution 2021-024, the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, granting a variance to the City Code 15-10-22 development requirements to James Portsman. That's not pronounced right. Okay, sorry. To construct a building with a height that exceeds 34 feet on lots 40-40, Block 4, original town site of Seward, Alaska, located at 134 4th Avenue within the Central Business Zoning District. And let's see, we have a public hearing. Do we have anybody signed in?
Motion.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-24.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anybody signed in on this?
We do. The first signed in is Christine Casagranda.
Christine Casagranda, inside city limits. I was mostly coming just to listen, but then I saw these plans of a 50-foot building right downtown. When they demolished that one-story building that was there before, I was arguing with somebody, they said it was 2, I could have sworn it was 1. I remember looking out, standing downtown and being completely blown away at how beautiful downtown was. And never realized that downtown was in such a shadow before that. And I am disclosing I have no property, no interest downtown. I'm speaking solely as a citizen. I've asked several local downtown people what they think about this. A lot of them are out of town. There's one of them that's in Colorado. The other ones are in Washington, D.C. with students. There's a handful that are not here to speak. Whether they would speak if they were here, I don't know. So I was actually coming at first to maybe possibly encourage you guys to postpone this, but then on the other hand, as a citizen, I like to see things develop. I want to see housing. I want to see people succeed. I don't want to hold back anybody from making their dreams come to fruition. So it's like, you guys have a really tough job before you right now. I'm so glad that I'm not in your seat. I'm sure whatever you vote on and whatever you do will be right. You know, our code is our code, and we recently had a ladder truck given or bought, I don't know the whole deal, to the city, and now we can build beyond our code. And do you really want to open this can of worms of starting variances this way? I mean, is it gonna be a pick and choose, this but not them, and that and not that? I mean, there's other parcels of land that are zoned commercial that are on the market right now that probably would be a good site for a 50-foot building, that it wouldn't block a whole bunch of other people. 34-foot building right there at that lot would block all the same. I mean, what's an additional 20 feet? So I'm kind of just blabbering, but that's what I am here to do because that's my right as a citizen, I guess. One of the things that the other local business owners asked is this really going to be year-round housing? And it says in your resolution that it is going to be used for year-round housing. But remember that the sentences in the wherehouses in your resolution are not binding. What is binding are the sections. So if you want to guarantee that this is actually going to be year-round housing, which I manage nightly rentals. If it turns out to be nightly rentals, awesome. I have nothing against nightly rentals, but I know you guys as a commission have been tasked to fix our housing crisis and ensure that there's long-term housing. You can add to section 1 that there has to be HOAs, because assuming this is going to be condominiums, that it is required that the HOAs say absolutely no nightly rentals. And that's how you can fix that and make sure that what this intention is going to be followed through. That was just one of the ideas that I thought of, because I'm assuming there'll be HOAs. Because in commercial district, you can have a vacation rental outright. Well, you have to get a permit for it, but you guys won't have a say. Once you approve this and you say, all right, they're condos, the resolution said that they're year-round housing, there's nothing in the sections that say anything further than that, I can go buy one of those condos as a year-round rental, and I can rent it out at this point for a vacation rental, which I would consider doing. It's for sale. So, thank you for your time, and appreciate it.
Excuse me, sorry. Next signed in is Jim Krotzman.
A couple things to answer your HOA thing on nightly rentals. These are permanent residents, so that's going to be in the homeowners association. It's either going to be, I'm looking at probably a 3-month minimum if somebody's going to be gone. Somebody can stay there for maybe 3 or 4 months or a half a year. But these are permanent residents. The reason for the additional height is the second floor are fairly small footprint units, and I was trying to make them a little bit bigger so I could have 2- and 3-bedroom units there because they're going to be full-time residents. The building that was there, the arcade building, was actually 3 floors plus a basement. So there's a picture of it. So what I'm building is only about 8 foot tall, not a whole lot. The footprint's the same. The view that's going to be missed is going to be basically the sky. That's what you're going to end up missing. So these are going to be full-time residents. I'm not looking at, and those are things you put in the condo, in the HOAs. I mean, you just can't do it. That's all. People buy it with the intention that these are full-time use, and you can't do a daily rental or anything. So, yeah, that's not what's going to happen. These are full-time resident condos. So seems like there's plenty of Airbnbs around Seward, and it seems like there's a shortage on permanent residents for people. So that's one goal.
Anybody else?
No, sir.
Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak on this resolution? Okay, we'll move to commissioner comments. Commissioner,
The staff report.
oh, thank you. I even have it written down.
Resolution 2021-24, James Protzman has applied for a variance to City Code 15.10.222 development requirements from the Seward Planning and Zoning Commission to construct a building with a height that exceeds 34 feet on his property located at 134 4th Avenue. These lots have a limited amount of ground level square footage on which to construct year-round housing with adequate space. The additional footage and height will allow Protzman to add more livable space to the 6 dwelling units on the first floor. As stated in City Code 15.10.220 development requirement, the purpose of height standards is to prevent loss of life or excessive property damage through the inability of the city fire department to reach upper stories or roofs and to help maintain the character of neighborhoods. However, additional resources available to the Seward City Fire Department, as well as the current fire and building code, will address any life safety issues or property damage that could potentially be caused by a building exceeding 34 feet in height. Development requirements. The proposed structure meets the zoning code development requirements, including lot coverage, minimum building lot size, except for building height, which this variance application is being submitted. Floodplain status. According to the Kenai Peninsula floodplain map, the area is not located within a flood zone. Water, sewer, and power are available to the property, and the applicant is planning on connecting to all of these, as well as adequate fire, police, and solid waste disposal services are available. And City Code requires that every building within the city must provide containers suitable for refuse collection. Parking. Since the property is located in the central business district, parking is not specifically required. However, the site design shows there will be 20 parking spots constructed on the ground level of the building and as required by the CUP. The consistency checklist. Comprehensive plan. Economic base encourages the development of infrastructure expansion plans for currently undeveloped residential and commercial property. Promote residential and commercial development within the city of Seward and encourage development of new housing. Also meets the strategic plan to expand availability of affordable, diverse, year-round housing. Staff comments. Building department said that the building will need to meet building and fire code. Fire department says the city adopted building and fire codes will address any concerns on the additional height. No concerns from the fire department. Public Works says no issues on the height, but curious about plans for rain and snow drainage from the roof. Harbor Department, no comment. Police Department, no comment. Electric Department, no comment. Public notice. The property owners within 300 feet of lots 37 through 40, Block 4, original town site of Seward, were notified of this proposed variance action, and public notice signs were posted on the property. So recommended conditions. The applicant will work with the city staff to make sure the building is constructed according to International Fire Code and International Building Code. The applicant will work with the city utility departments for any possible upgrades of water, sewer, and electric. All parking and maneuverability will remain on site for the life of the use. Community Development Department staff recommends approval of Resolution 2021-24 granting a variance to City Code 15.10.222 development requirements to James Protzman to construct a building with a height that exceeds 34 feet at 134 4th Avenue.
Thank you. Commissioner Verity, why don't you start us off?
Okay. I guess I do question, like having that in the HOAs, or like Rissy mentioned, adding something to the section so that it can, I guess, be assured that it doesn't become nightly rentals. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that would be a good thing to look at.
Commissioner Chavino?
Yeah, I'm, from looking at the plans, I could be wrong, but kind of concerned about the parking, like parking spot behind another parking spot. To me, it doesn't seem like an actual parking spot because you can get parked in, you can't get in. It doesn't seem like it's actually a number. But more importantly, I'm concerned about the height with the view shed and people enjoying the view. I mean, people come to this town because it's beautiful. I mean, if you fill it up with buildings, then nobody gets to look at all the wonder around us. And everybody says we have a ladder truck, but to my knowledge, it's still across the bay, which is 30 minutes-ish, depending on how fast the ladder truck drives. However, the ladder truck probably doesn't drive that fast up and down that hill, but I drove it today, and it's 2 minutes under 30 minutes to get to the fire training camp spot, which isn't even where the truck is. So I don't know that that's a valid, oh, we have this truck, we can build. Unless the truck is here, essentially it's in another town. I mean, it's a half an hour away. And that's hoping somebody jumps out of bed quick, gets their pants on quick, and gets over there. So those are my concerns, most of the view shed.
Anybody else would like to speak up?
I have just one thing is, because the Sea Life Center also got a variance at the same time, so it is taller than the 34. It's like 37 or 38 feet as well.
38.6.
So my concern is if you know, it's once again, it's what was brought up earlier, who do we pick and choose? Either we adhere everybody to the 34-foot thing until we change the code, or, you know, we need to, you know, allow, you know, permissive, be a little more permissive on this, because you have the Sea Life Center again right across the street that exceeded the code, and now we have Mr. Protzman who wants to do it for a very good reason, but do we say, okay, well, the Sea Life Center is a big money maker for the town perhaps, and we're going to give it to them but not to a resident? I want to just, you know, I just want to be fair in that respect, so that's just my concern. I wanted to throw that on the table anyway.
Go ahead.
Sure, I would like to echo Commissioner Verhey's comments about no nightly rentals. I think Mr. Protzman is sincere in what he's saying, but we know properties can change hands and some of these things can fall through. I think we need more reassurance that it's not going to turn into a nightly rental, because it's extremely desirable for that kind of property, and I don't believe our community wants that nightly rental property to be right there. In the fire department's comments, it says the city adopted building and fire codes will address any concerns on additional height. That's really vague, and I don't know are we granting a variance to building and fire codes? Or what code are we granting a variance for?
I'll answer that question. The only thing is the height. So it's very specific. We are doing a variance on the height, not fire codes, not building codes. That's an area that we actually have no control of.
But it says here that the city adopted building and fire codes will address any concerns on the additional height.
Height is not a code. Is it not a fire code? I mean, if you're a certain height, if you're a certain number of floors, if you have a certain number of rooms, then you have other responsibilities, which the fire code.
So a 50-foot height would be allowed under the current fire and building code?
No, that's what we're asking. They're asking for a variance of over 50 foot, but if he gets 50 foot, we give him that he needs to meet the code of a 50-foot building.
Okay. And I do think that 50 foot seems high for what it would do to the view shed up the street. You know, I know the street's on a hill, and I understand that, you know, some of it is sky view, but 50 foot's pretty high. I think it's going to take out the view of a lot of businesses that are already there.
You're done?
Yes.
Go ahead.
What would we need to do to put in something like both commissioners spoke about the making sure that it's not a nightly rental? We need to write that in now or later?
I want to see, you know, comment. If you have a comment, and then I'd like to comment. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I have a comment about height. I'm taller than most people. So consequently, I think buildings at 50 feet in a downtown area is not a problem. If you can't have a view, standing behind it, you move over 20 or 30 feet and you'll have your view. I don't see a problem with it personally, as long as it's legal.
Right. Yeah, I have a couple different comments. One thing I want to make sure that just as a body we understand that when we do a variance, it also includes the requirements for a conditional use permit, which actually comes into the parking issue. In the parking issue, generally, we do not count parking places in a straight line. However, I personally, and this is my thing, would not have a problem since these are owner occupied. Okay, this is where, and I'm going to switch gears a little bit back over here. As a body, I don't think we have the authority to decide if somebody wants to do long-term housing or nightly rentals. If somebody had this piece of property, they want to put a hotel there, they have to meet the requirements for a hotel. If he wants to make this nightly, he needs to meet the requirements for nightly. Okay, so the 2 parking places per unit, or the long-term, the requirements for parking long-term are actually greater than the parking requirements for nightly. So from that sense, as long as we meet the parking requirements for long-term, whether it becomes nightly or not, I don't think the city of Seward has the right to make those decisions. Unless we do an ordinance, and we've talked about that. Another thing is making a percentage of nightly rentals and stuff like that. So that's an area I don't think, but in general, when we're looking at variance and you're looking at these things, you're going through them beforehand. Remember, you also have to meet the conditional use permit that's included in it. Going back, the special conditions and of the different conditions that you have to meet for variance. Number 2 is special conditions and circumstances exist which are particular to the land. I'll stop there. This piece of land is no different than all the other. There's nothing special about this piece of land. We gave a variance to a, where you might run into, we gave a variance to property just to the north of the post office because they had setbacks from the side and the front, and normally it'd be on the longer side. And that is something we do on all corner lots in that area. And so it's something we're going to do specific to that piece of property that is not like the properties around. This property is not unique as far as just the property goes. It goes on, or particular to the land or the structure. The Sea Life Center is a unique structure. You cannot build an aviary in order to get the aviary properly, and it's a unique structure. The structure we're working with here is not unique. Okay, so so if we gave, and the comments earlier, if we give a variance for this piece of property at 50 foot, everybody in central business would have to be given the same accord. Saying that, now I'm going to go back. This is where I started talking about earlier. I was very surprised that in both the resolution that we did not, resolution 2021, that we did not look at, and this resolution, the fire department really didn't have an issue with the height, which means that they felt that from a fire safety point of view, which is from everything I read, the reason we have 34 foot is based on fire safety. And the fire department doesn't seem like fire safety is an issue for here and then also another place. So I would like to, based on that, I think that we need to really look at exactly what we brought up is we now have stronger building codes, stronger fire codes. We have a ladder truck within the city. This is a topic that really needs to be discussed in much more depth with the fire department, with the public as a whole. It's what we're going to do with if we're going to raise our heights.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a problem with this property being developed at a higher height. I think a variance is the wrong way to look at this. I think we need to, I think somebody else brought it up, that we need to look at a code change. Okay? And that code change can affect, just like in down in the harbor area, we have different heights in different parts of that district. And that's what I think we have to look at. I think this is a really good idea, and as I started mentioning, I think this is something I've been expecting to come up, and it's something that we need to address. So what I would like to do is, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this resolution to do a work session. So I'm making a motion that we postpone this resolution to do a work session. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on postponing this to a work session?
I have some discussion. Also, I agree with what you're wanting to do, and you're right. I do believe if we grant a 50-foot height on this property, we're basically granting it for all downtown. So if there are properties downtown that want to put another 10-foot on their properties, we would be, by granting this variance, we would be granting those variances also. So I think we really do need to look at this as a whole community and do a code change. The other thing is, you know, you said on the nightly rental piece, you didn't think we could do this and it wasn't certain. I would like to use this postponement in the work session to get some facts about what we can and can't say as far as nightly rentals on a property like this or other properties. And I'm not sure what that expertise is, but I would like that at the work session also.
Can I get a vote on the postponement?
Voting to postpone resolution 2021-024 until the commission can hold a work session. Charbonneau,
Yes.
Cease,
No,
Verhey,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
Sullivan,
No.
and Swan.
Yes.
That motion is approved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next on our agenda.
There we go.
Is this guy okay? Okay, so next on our agenda is number 8, unfinished business. We have none, so we'll go to number 9, new business resolution 2021-025 of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, recommending the City Council amend portions of the Seward City Code 15-10-140 definition to amend definitions related to apartment, boarding houses, duplex, dwelling, duplex, hotel, hostel, posted lodging unit, housing unit, insurance company, licenses, listing sites, lodging, motel, multi-story units, owner, short-term rentals, short-term rental transaction, sleeping unit, townhouse, transient, and whole house nightly, amending 15-10-226, J, employee campground, and enacting language in 15-10-226K pertaining to short-term rentals. And that's it. So, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-25.
I'll second.
Staff report?
In the past 2 years, Planning and Zoning Commission has held numerous public work sessions to review and update portions of Title 15 in the City Zoning Code. The Commission held 8 public work sessions specifically reviewing and amending sections 15.10.140 definitions and 15.10.226 land uses allowed. August 17, 2021, the Commission and the City Council held a joint public work session to review each of the requested changes, and September 21st, 2021, Planning and Zoning Commission held another public work session to follow up on these suggested changes. The Commission has reviewed and discussed the definitions and land uses allowed sections of the Seward City Code in depth. Members of the public were present and expressed comments and concerns during many of the work sessions. The Commission has addressed and accommodated all public concerns and input through the proposed changes. This meets the comprehensive plan under city government. States continue to review and update the city code and adjust local development regulations where appropriate to encourage development that is consistent with our economic-based vision. Recommendation: the Commission approve Resolution 2021-25, recommending the City Council amend portions of Seward City Code 15.10.140 definitions.
Okay. Commissioner Verhey, you want to start us off on this?
Yeah, we've worked on this a lot,
Okay.
and yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Richard Sullivan.
Other ladies?
I concur with Commissioner Verhey. We've worked on this, and you all have been working on these definitions, I think, since 2018 or something along those lines, or quite some time anyway. A lot of these definitions, so I'm totally good with moving forward with it.
Commissioner Charbonneau?
Yeah, I have 2 issues. One, deletion, or that was deleted section that I think should still be in there, and one section that was added that I'm not quite sure why it needs to be in there. On page 95, the definition of owner, I'm not quite sure we need a paragraph. The dictionary only has like 3 words on it. Don't know if that's needed. I feel it's not. Page 104, J number 1, section J number 1. Anyway, the employee campground, the deletion was to take out that, employee campgrounds can't be open for more than 150 days per year without specific city council approval. And I think we should keep that in, just in case. I just don't want someone to have a work site that just goes on and on and on and on forever. Those are my 2 cents.
Anybody else?
I had one. Back up to it here. Just give me a second. Page 92. F. It seems like under Area 51.
Hey, let me get a chance to get to
Sure.
page 92.
91 and 92, yeah. It seems like every type of unit in this section has an explanation of use of the unit except for F. So in trying to determine the land uses allowed table, I know we look at the definition of how the unit is going to be used to determine the best location for it, but there's no definition on F.
Substance use treatment, so they're using facility rather than unit. I'm
No,
not
it's
sure
just,
exactly
I
what
mean,
you're-
if you look at like group care home,
Okay.
it's a dwelling shared by no more than 5 disabled people plus resident staff. If you look at halfway house, it's a licensed home for inmates, initially placed in lieu of restrictive custodial confinement. But then under F, there's no explanation or definition of that unit. Is it a restricted unit? Is it a non-restricted unit? How many people? Because the number of people in the group home is defined in the definition. A dormitory is a residential group, living quarters for student bodies, but there's no qualifiers or identification on section F.
Okay. So we can work with these two different ways, and I went past, like I wrote down the pages. We can look at each one of these and make, we can make a suggested change, and we can vote on that particular change, and then move to the next one. I guess that would be my recommendation. Is we look at that. So if we want to, since we're already on this page, we could look at this and we'll come back to the other ones. Do you have a recommendation? Because I'm having a little difficult in my head wrapped around this, but this is your knowledge area. Much more
Not
so.
really, honestly. I'm more medical than behavioral.
Well, I understand, but do you have I mean, you brought this up, do you have a recommendation on how it should be changed?
I was going to recommend that staff bring something back to us. I'm not qualified to be the one to explain how one of these facilities works and is it restricted or non-restricted, but I think it should have a larger explanation because everything else in that group does. Why would this one not?
Yeah, I agree.
What if it just said a licensed facility for the purposes of temporary or long-term?
I think substance abuse treatment facilities, it depends upon what is driving the train on that, because they can be very small or they can be large, and it's all based on bed space more so than and everything else like that. So I guess that might be a point of consideration if you want to put a qualifier of, of examples in there, because there's small ones like we have here in town, here in Seward, or large ones like are up in Anchorage. So this just actually just describes what it does as opposed to the physicality of the facility itself.
Well, like the group care home, I mean, there are group care homes that have a lot more than 5
Right.
beds. But this definition here for Seward limits the group care home to 5 beds.
Then what you're suggesting is that we're limiting to a X amount of bodies in a substance abuse that meets that criteria.
I'm not,
That's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
that you're suggesting. So
I am suggesting something,
right.
but I would like, if staff could get with someone that has more expertise in this area to give us a definition to even start with.
Yeah, because you don't know what size you would be using here in town if that were the case. You want to have something that's appropriate for just Seward.
Well, I just want it to be in line with everything else.
Right.
Well, the halfway house does not address a size. It's just saying that it's a halfway house, and I guess that, as soon as a facility got to a certain size, then different codes would become enforced.
Then why do we have group home at 5?
That's a better question. I'm almost more willing to go back and say group home is just a dwelling shared by disabled persons.
Yeah, it begs the question, why is it there in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, it's a group care home. I mean, then, and you say, is it a group care facility? Because we already have yeah, we're getting into some very then it's really a matter of what are we gaining by fixing it one way or another.
And 4 years.
Well, why was 5, do you know why 5 was put in there? Is
No.
there some sort of federal or state that they drew that from?
Yes, staff, do we know? Any,
I don't have an answer for why that was put in there.
um, well, so do you want to make a motion that we make a change? Or do you want to,
I would-
we want to make a motion that we postpone this, or you want to set this aside and look at the other items?
I think we
Back to
can
it?
set this aside. I think staff could probably find folks in the kind of guideline for, you know, in the future, how we can identify this use in the future.
Okay.
Because right now, we can't, there's nothing there.
Yeah, and before we just strike out 5 to make it fit with the next one, I feel like it's important to figure out why 5's there. I don't want to strike it out if it's there for a reason.
I think that was in there because none of this is something that's newly changed. I believe this is stuff that's already been written in as the part of the definition, so we may never know why they put 5
I
in
just want to
there.
make sure it's not mandated. I know it's not mandated, but some sort of, it wasn't drawn from some sort of information that was gathered.
Okay. Okay, I think I have a way to deal with this. Why don't we'll come,
Okay.
we didn't have a motion on the table for this specifically. Then let's just go back to Commissioner Charbonneau's, you were at, what, 94, 96?
95,
95.
yeah, page 9577 is owner, and I'm not sure why we need a whole paragraph there. I mean, like I said, the dictionary only has a few words, and owner's pretty cut and clear in my mind. I mean, the only thing I can think of if somebody wanted, whoever put this in wanted maybe an agent to be able to manage, but when you're reading through it, it says agent, they still have to hold part of official records, which still makes them an owner.
Well, no, you can be an official on record and not be an owner.
Okay.
And I think that's exactly why this was put in. We discussed it, actually we discussed it quite a bit, the fact that if somebody, you know, owns different places and they have a official manager, or say in a situation where somebody leases an entire piece of property, you know, and we have restaurants in that situation where somebody leases the entire building, and they are not the owner of the building, but they are the person of record managing that building. And I think that was specifically put in here to handle that, especially when we got into hosted housing units in like central business or OR and those areas.
So does it need to specifically say something about it instead of just being broadcast owner? Like, I just feel like that.
I don't think it's that.
From now on, that owner term can be any of those things where.
Right. I think,
Okay. I don't agree with it, but that's just me.
do you want us to look at it again?
I mean, if everybody else agrees with it, then it's pointless, but I don't think we should have that say that.
Okay.
I think
Why-
an owner needs to be an owner, like, it's defined as an owner for a reason, instead of all that, but, everybody's.
I think a lot of that also came on when it went to council at one point. I think some of that was brought up as well. There was back and forth on several of that, and I think that is another reason why we expanded that definition as to where we did.
Yeah, I still don't agree with
Well, where we just talked about it is we said that, and then it comes out in other definitions, is that in an R1, R2,
Yeah.
R1, then it has to be actually the owner living in the house. But then
Yeah.
we got into other parts of the city, and we says, does it actually have to be an owner, or it can be the agent of an owner? And
we have
that's living on the premises and managing it as again,
we have that clarified enough so somebody can't just say, well, it says owner here, it can be any of these things, and since.
well, we actually do have it clarified fairly
Okay.
straightforward in the R1.
Okay.
I think that's all already in here.
Okay. Then I guess we can look at the other one, which was
What pages?
if I remember,
Employee.
104,
104,
because I have that marked also.
104, J, and then section I under it. A bunch of it was taken out, and I'm not proposing all of it go back in. But, you know, an employee campground, I would like to see some sort of, not necessarily
Limit.
oversight, but if, I would hate for an employee campground to just exist forever, because, you know, we didn't have something that says that you actually need to have somebody look at it. And if you're gonna have a working site that lasts longer than 150 days, which possibly could exist, just bring it to council and they're okay it. But I think that needs to be in there.
I agree with you on that, and I also don't like the fact that we've had many work sessions on all these topics, and none of those work sessions or other things have we talked about employee campgrounds, which is actually a pretty specific area, and we have them here. And so, what I'd like to do is take this whole resolution and take it back to a work session. And we can make that specifically to look at the 51 housing units. And where was it? J, actually I have to go back up here. Well, I'll make resolutions here. I guess it's just the J, employee campground. I brought this up casually with two different people. Both of them were caught completely off guard. They had no idea this was coming up and had ideas. And one of them just said, you know, what are we going to have, a refugee camp? Because, you know, we're going to have tents. Now the tents can stay up there year after year without ever coming down, being cleaned up, put back up. And there's no period of time where somebody goes out and inspects them. It's just there forever.
We got away from tents, housing, and now it's in here.
Right, and then for the last several years, a couple of you are new, but we have been moving, putting greater restrictions on the companies that are doing employee campgrounds. And so the direction that planning and zoning has been moving towards employee campgrounds is more restrictive, not less restrictive. And then this is, and I think we've been moving in that direction because we feel like our community, that's the direction the community wants to see. And so this is a 180-degree reversal, which we have not discussed and really brought out specifically so that the public can put their ideas in place.
Vice Chair Truss, can I just make one comment?
Yes, you may.
I have nothing against what's been said. I just want to clarify what may have been missed. With your comments about tents under number 2 on section J, that change says that camping units as described in 15.10.14 is 0 are not permitted. So in the employee campgrounds, tents and RVs would not be allowed.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. I'm not
So
saying
tents,
anything about the action.
tents and
proposed.
RVs aren't allowed, but we still call them campground. Camping units, but. Employee campground.
Thank you. That's a good clarification. I don't think it changes, in my opinion, I don't think it changes what we're discussing.
Okay.
And so I would like to make a motion that we postpone resolution 2021-025 to do a work session concerning 51 housing units and J, employee campground.
I'll second that.
Do we have any more discussion on that? And I call for a vote on postponing this.
Okay, voting on the motion to postpone Resolution 21-025 until after a work session. Verhey,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
Cease,
No.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
and Swan.
Yes,
That motion is approved.
thank you. Get up here, David. Let's go up here. All right. Okay, let's see, next is, discussing, our regular meeting on November 2nd. We have a staff, do you have anything?
Yeah, there have been 2 CUPs and a plat, replat that have been submitted for that regular meeting. So it's just a matter of if we will have a quorum for that meeting.
Okay. I will be here.
November 2nd?
Yep.
November 2nd.
Yeah, I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Great.
I should be here.
Looks like we'll have a quorum.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, work session on November 16th. Where are we on that? Is that the same question? Whether we have a
Yeah.
quorum?
Because, yeah, the work session is scheduled to continue. We have obviously items to talk
Obviously,
about.
yes.
It's just a matter of who will be here, I will be here, so.
I will not be here.
November 2nd. 16?
16.
I should be here.
I'll be here.
I should be here.
I'll be here if I'm not in the hospital.
You'll be here.
Very possible.
Vanessa?
I will not be.
You will not be. Okay, but that gives us close to 4. So everybody that said they were going to be here, which means you can't go to the hospital.
Okay.
Yes, schedule another time.
We'll have to watch that.
So the topic for that meeting is going to be the definitions.
I think we're gonna do the,
Well, we also have
The height.
the height. They're both there. Was there anything else that we're looking at besides those 2? Okay.
I just want to be done with definitions. I could go on and on and on and on.
Gotta get them right, though.
It's the first time they've been looked at in a very long time, so no problem. And we've narrowed it down. The discussion is only on this very small area. I did that on purpose.
That was smart.
Okay, well, let's make that work session do we want to try and do both those items? Well, one of them, well, there is some discussion in there, so I'm not going to be here, so you guys have to decide.
Why don't we put them both down and see if we get to them? Because I'd hate to put one down and have time left over.
Okay, and which one do we want to do first?
Uh,
We could do heights, because that's kind of a big thing, and that might take more than one.
I
It's a
think we
fairly
should-
big topic.
I think we should do heights first. Because that seems like it's more, I don't want to say important, but on the front burner.
Well, it is for
Yeah,
somebody.
it's for-
Definitions
yeah.
is not gonna,
Yeah, I know.
we've been
that's what I
working on
mean.
it for years. There's not a-
Definitions can wait. I don't want to hinder
Definitions
things.
can wait.
Yeah, so
Can
let's
I
get
make
that
a-
table first.
Yes, you can.
Comment on height.
We're just talking about whether we're gonna have it on the work session. So besides, because
You can do it at the work session.
if the work session would be,
Oh, so
Yeah.
I have to hold my comment till then? Because
Well,
my comment might
we
just
will have an
stop
oppor-
having a work
we
session.
will have an opportunity at the end of the meeting for your comments
Oh,
on anything, and that would be appropriate time. But right now, we just wanna,
Okay,
we wanna decide what our topic is.
all right.
And is that a good time for you? Is that a good topic for you?
Absolutely. After our meeting.
Okay, let's do heights primary and then definitions.
So just
in
to
there.
clarify, the work session would be discussing a possible resolution to amend city code regarding the height.
Correct.
Okay.
No idea.
And we'll leave it wide open so we get comments from lots of citizens. Okay,
given the opportunity to.
that's right. Okay, so we have meetings scheduled for December and January. Again, I will be out of town until the early part of January. We have traditionally taken
Hiatus?
December, hiatus for December.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad idea to do that, as a fact that we're missing a person
Mhm.
also, and it gives us time to try and find somebody to fill that spot, would be nice. But again, I'm not gonna be here, so it'd be really good. Because one of the things that's coming up on next week's agenda is, voting in a chair, vice chair, or chair, and then maybe after that. Any comments?
Do we vote on, do we have to wait till meeting to actually vote on when we take a hiatus, or, can we
We
just
just-
say we're gonna do this?
No, we just need to discuss we're gonna do it, because then this agenda doesn't get put forward.
Okay.
So that is actually what we're doing right now, make that decision if we want to have that.
Well, I'll be here for December and I don't mind having meetings, but if you're gonna be gone and we're already missing a spot
I'll also be gone.
and you'll be gone.
Yeah. It's
I'll be
probably-
gone part of December too, so I think we could make the hiatus.
Yeah.
I'm for it, I don't know if we need a
Okay,
motion or what.
so, no, I don't think we do, but then when would our first meeting, I know if we have our first meeting in January, I would not make, which would be our regular scheduled meeting. I won't be back, or I probably won't be back up here by that time. We could move that back a week,
I'll be gone the first week of January.
right?
Okay.
And since it's kind of the holidays, we could try to move that, if it's acceptable, try and move our regular scheduled meeting to the,
From the 4th to the 11th.
if that's possible, if it's open,
Of January we're talking
in
about,
January.
Yes,
next year,
yes.
Yes, 2020.
2020.
Yeah, that January.
It's gotta be better than 2021.
We hope so, don't say anything about it.
Okay, so we'll do that,
It is now.
and then we'll go into our regular, so week after that, we'd have a work session.
And that would be
Okay.
January 18th work session.
Yes. Does that work for everybody?
I don't think that's,
You say January 18th, Brenda?
That would, the 11th is the meeting and the 18th is the work session.
Got it.
Of January,
Correct.
Yes.
11th and 18th.
And you're canceling the meetings, the meeting and work session for December, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Okay, so we're down to number 10, informational items and reports. I don't think anything's take any, well, I guess we already did the B. And everything else doesn't take any action. So let's go right to 11, commission comments. Commissioner Sullivan.
Nope, I just want to thank Courtney with her being the lone stranger with a lot of this stuff, doing things by herself, and everybody's help. I think this has been good. We've been moving things along, and I think it's been I've been now on this thing for almost 6 months. I've learned a lot. Thank you much for your patience.
You've been terrific.
Commissioner Merhay?
Yeah. No comments.
Is this when I get to make my comment?
Almost.
Almost.
Charbonneau?
like always, I would like to thank the staff, Courtney and Brenda, for helping out, and the public that came tonight. We had a number of people, and it's great to see people. So, yeah.
Nice.
Commissioner Bojan?
I also want to thank Courtney and Brenda for working against the odds, and community members for coming in tonight.
I did all those comments, but this height thing,
Yes.
I lived in Anchorage since 1964, and one of the reasons why they have height restrictions in Anchorage is because they have a good reason, and that's Merrill Field. You got airplanes coming in. We don't have airplanes coming in here across our city skies, so we should have high rises to compete with anything that we have. We don't have land. They got land in Anchorage. We don't have land in Seward. So you start restricting heights and all that stuff, you might as well just close shop. That's why this is off the record, right?
Don't you were on the record. The red light is on. Okay, my comments. First, I'd like to very much, especially Brenda, thank you for and both of you covering my lapses. Appreciate that very much. The other thing I want to bring up at our next meeting on the agenda will be elections, correct? And the way that works is we'll first have an election for chair. And if vice chair then becomes vacant,
You have to elect
then we'll
them.
have election for vice chair. But if we have, so just be prepared, because somebody needs to step up. Just want you guys to be set up for that. Anyway, that's my citizen comments. Yes?
One thing on height, just so, I don't know if people know this, but heights are not regulated by who has the biggest fire truck. They're by building codes. And so this particular building that I'm doing has a 6-inch water main going to it, sprinkled on every floor. It's steel construction, it's all tin can studs and sheetrock. It's safer than the building you're in right now. There is no sprinkler system in here. So, and I understand the fire truck thing, but you look at New York City, all the buildings would be 50 foot tall, or 50 stories. They don't have 100-story fire trucks to put out fires on the top floor. It's all done by building codes. And so this one, my architect went and he used the 2018 building code, which I guess you guys are going to adapt here in the next 2 months, because you're on 2012. So this complies with 2018 UBC building codes. Your comment on the parking actually qualifies as a tandem space under 2018 building codes as well. So the city of Anchorage, they're building condos and they have tandem spots. They have to be 10 foot by 36 foot. Actually, they're 9 by 36 foot. This is 10 by 36 foot. So they do comply with building codes as far as parking goes. And the building would comply with all the fire codes and so forth. So to have a fire truck and have, and you know, and I understand you guys were at 34 feet or 32 feet, whatever it was, for a reason. I totally understand that, but you don't want to base it on the height of your fire truck, because I'm sure when Seward was first born, they probably didn't have a fire truck that went up 2 stories or 3 stories, so they're like, okay, that's it. So it's not based on the size of the fire truck. And I understand it's way on the other side of town as well, the chances of it ever getting here, whether it's my building, a 50-foot building, or somebody's house or whatever. You know, they can probably use something smaller that they have here locally, but it's kind of unfortunate it's on the other side of the bay. Yeah, I agree with that 100% by the time. But it is a sprinkled building, which is required. And so, you know, as far as, and back to the rental thing, the daily, weekly rental thing, those are things you put in a homeowners association. So when I go to sell these, everybody that buys them is going to have to read that, comply with those homeowners associations. And the only way you can get that changed is if you have a majority of 10 owners that vote on it. And even at that point, you know, the city of Seward could adopt and implement something like that. But I have no reason to turn these into vacation rentals at all. I'm keeping a unit for myself. I was born here in '57. My dad was born here in 1926. And so this is probably where I'm going to hang out. You know, so that's where I'm at.
He brings up a good point, you know. In 2003, the horses would be pulling the fire truck.
Yeah.
Excellent, because it's you know, commissioners and administration's response to citizen comments. So you're number one. That's perfect. Does anybody else have a response? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I just wanted some clarification since we didn't get our variance.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth Hooper. In regard to the variance, and now you've stated you are going to postpone it based on some code potential code changes. What is the timeline? Because it impacts us greatly. Time is of the essence in what we're doing, with hopes of building in spring. We have a short building time period. We're still in, you know, working on plans, then we have to work on engineering. Jim was here today talking to the fire chief, to the dirt guy. I mean, we're doing a lot of things in preparation for this, and if you kick this can down the road till January, that's going to greatly impact us. So I mean, we'd appreciate an opportunity to have, this discussion sooner than the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it takes about 3 months to get the structural done.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have some real time concerns, and we thought that we would have this addressed today, so I don't know what the timeline, you guys didn't really mention what the timeline is for you to determine codes and other things, or if we might come back and try to get this variance approved again soon. So maybe somebody could answer that.
I'll comment on that.
Okay.
Okay, so, unless, we'll start with administration, you want to comment?
Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna cover it, but yeah, as far as timeline, which it's not going to be helpful, but if we have a work session on the end of this month, and it depends on what the commission is able to decide, if they're able to come to a conclusion, then we can bring a resolution to the next meeting, which appears to be the January meeting. And once that resolution was approved in January, then it would have to go to city council since it's a code change, and city council has to approve the codes. So then the city council meeting would probably be later in January, and so the earliest, the quickest that this code change could be made would be the end of January.
Could we resubmit for the variance without the code change so that we don't have these delays? It seems unfair to push us down the road when you're trying to change something that really affects everything, but not specifically our project. Are there options for that? I don't know.
Yeah,
what
I'll
that
comment.
process is.
It actually, if you listen to our discussion, a variance is the incorrect way for us to address this. We will move as fast as we can, but it is government. Government doesn't do anything fast. This is a major change to the city of Seward, going over the 34 foot. It's been here for a long, long time, and there's going to be a lot of people with comments, and it's going to be something, personally, I'd be surprised if we can get through it in one work session. We might be able to, it'd be great. But if you want to go to that above 34 feet, then this, in my opinion, is the fastest way to do that. Because it's very specific in code that what you're asking to do cannot be done legally through a variance. Because your building is not unique and your property is not unique. And since both of those, you don't meet the criteria for a variance. So a variance is not.
That was not our understanding based on the conversations we had, so it's
Yeah.
interesting to get
That's,
perspective. And just to follow up on the HOA stuff, I've been a licensed realtor in Alaska for 26 years, and homeowners associations, the people who own that property have to also comply with the municipality or areas, but they're the ones who determine those rules. So if they wanted nightly rentals or they wanted long-term just ownership, that's up to them to determine that, but that then is us.
Correct.
And that's what our intent is, so, but that could also
And
change.
I think you heard the comments. I think
Yeah.
people really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's great. My comment earlier, and I'll speak only for myself, is that I don't think that we have the right to determine that for you.
Right, that's what I was saying, as long as we're compliant.
Okay,
with
and
city
we have a
law.
discussion on that
Yeah.
I think we'll try and get some legal background on type of things. We can make restrictions. You know, if someone says, hey, I'm gonna do nightly, we can put, because it's conditional use permit, we can put restrictions on it. As far as the parking, traditionally, the way we've looked at parking in this town is we don't park parallel, and I agree with you, it meets a code for parallel, but then again, it depends on the use of the building. If you were doing a hotel, do we allow this? No, but our parking stuff all takes into everything.
Yeah.
So that's where, in the CUP, you ask for, the conditional use permit, we're gonna look at parking, you say, this is what we're doing. We, at that point in time, say, as long as it's in your HOA requirements that you're not doing nightly, sure. I'm just giving you, I'm not saying that's what we do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that would be a for instance of what would be our role in that process.
Okay.
And then as a group, any individual of us doesn't count for anything. It's what we decide as a group.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys taking the time. We'll have discussions after the meeting if you want to talk. But I appreciate you guys bringing this forward, because I think it's something that should be addressed, and I wish there was a way to make it faster. Okay. Any other comments? Okay. I will adjourn the meeting. 8:40.